Ms. Walker and Mr. Callahan.
Hi, sorry about that. He's literally in the bathroom right this second.
Okay, we'll wait a moment till he appears.
Okay. I'm gonna have to like step off camera and fucking laugh. I guess the coffee went through. It did. I have no control over that. Absolutely. If you think I can control that, man, you got another thing coming.
Okay, folks, we are on YouTube, so let's remember that. All right, and when Mr. Callahan's back, make sure he's on the camera so I can see him as well.
Of course. Don't worry, that wasn't Mr. Callahan, but she brightens everyone's day. All right, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
They're waiting for you.
Okay, great. I'll need some water, but this is fine. Here I am. Sorry to keep you all waiting.
Thank you. If everybody would raise your right hands for me, please. Swear the testimony in this case to be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Yes. Okay.
Oh yeah. Sorry, we don't do that anymore.
No, we
I
don't.
watch shows about it.
I agree.
I'm ready to swear that oath.
Okay, so I've reviewed documents that have been filed. I will summarize the case as I understand it. Looks like Ms. Walker and Mr. Callahan.
Mrs. Walker, if you please, sir.
And Ms. Walker, is that how you would like me to refer to you?
Said Ms.
Oh yeah, well.
That constitutes both Mrs. or Miss.
Yeah, okay. That's
just
fine.
Ambiguous.
Okay.
Yes, we are married.
Okay, thank you. Apparently transferred $10,000 to the Kalins in the Kalins' hour of need, and now they want it back because they have expressed to the Kalins that they have an hour of need. So my first observation was, folks, it must be really good friends to be able to stand in for each other when you have difficulties.
That's true. I love these guys.
That's what I believe to be true.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. I'm just going to summarize what I have read and received from the case, and then I will ask some questions. So that's my understanding as to why we're here. And the Kalins have said, in fact, the money they received from Ms. Walker and Mr. Callahan were gifts, not loans, and we're not going to pay it back because of that. So I think that's where we're at. Is that sort of a general accurate summation of the position of the parties?
If I may, a little clarity. I mean, originally we were intending to potentially pay the monies back, was the original idea. Yes.
Okay.
I understood that there would be a repayment whenever it was needed or called upon. So the fact that it was not any longer a requirement to be paid is something that's very new to me, and I was never given that option or thought or any of that.
Okay, so let me, as I said at the beginning, and this is one of the cases I was thinking about when I was saying it, that the personal stuff that goes on, the friendship between the parties, the hurt feelings when something happens that was expected that didn't happen, so on and so forth. That's not why I'm here. That was up to the four of you to try to figure out. That you're the ones best placed to do that. I can't do that.
That's not my job. So,
I just look at the law. So I'm going to ask some questions which are going to focus on how I see this case and what the legal principle I have to find for is. There is nothing by way of a written loan agreement in the documents that have been filed. So unless the parties tell me otherwise, we have what is characterized by Ms. Walker and Mr. Callahan as a loan that's not supported by any written agreement saying this is a loan with expectations of payback. Ms. Walker, am I correct in that?
Yes, you are correct in that. We had a verbal agreement, which I thought was enough among friends. I did not realize that they were only pretending to be my friend, so I did not actually draw up a legal document with regards to a written agreement before giving them money. And that was, in fact, my bad.
Okay, well, I will also note that I did see a text at some point from you saying, I never did expect to be paid back, but now I'm having a hard time and it would be really nice if I could get the money back. So am I accurate that you sent a text like that?
I sent a text saying that we had an agreement based on the fact that I would need the money back if it ever came to my need. And that was the verbal agreement. I had hoped to never be in a position where I needed to ask for the money to be returned. But unfortunately, I did not manage to succeed in all my endeavors. And I found myself in a place where I needed to ask for it back. And so therefore I was asking for it back. And Rhea Kalin spoke with Christian Kalin to reach an agreement in the amount of money that I gave them and the amount of money that Daniel gave them. And so if we don't resolve anything here, that's fine. We will just go ahead and resolve it by other means, and it'll be fine.
Okay, so yeah, I'm looking at that text that you sent to Ms. Kalin, and you said, I hate to ask you at all, but I'm a bit desperate. The money I gave Christian wasn't exactly a loan. He just said you guys really needed the help.
That is true for mine. The loan that Daniel made
That was
to
a loan.
that was a loan. I don't know.
That was a business loan.
Yeah, and we have a witness that although he's not on here today, but he was the person that facilitated said loan, and he had an understanding from both parties. So if we need to pursue it further,
all the records.
if we need to pursue it further, then we can go ahead and go that route.
Well, yeah, hold on. So do the Kalins agree that money from Mr. Walker or Mr. Callahan was a business loan? Is there an agreement as to that?
No.
Okay, and what's your position as to the money from Mr. Callahan?
It was a cash, it was money given to us. Whenever I take money from friends in the past, I always want to pay it back. It wasn't something that we were intending to do, but it was just a cash $5,000, no stipulations.
Okay, okay, yeah, I'm going to ask some questions here. So, okay, so from the Kalin standpoint, when did you tell me about the timing of the 5,000 and the 5,000? Did it all come at once? Was it separate time periods? So tell me.
I believe, I don't have the exact time, but 2012 was the original $5,000 cash given through a friend in Olympia. They did some kind of a wire transfer and I went to his house and picked it up. I think that's who they're talking about as far as having a witness.
Okay, so your understanding is what Ms. Walker was just discussing was the first $5,000. It was a business, in their mind, a business loan. You're saying it was just you were receiving a gift of $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the business? What was going on at that point?
We live on on a piece of property that also is our residence and business. So we got a little behind in our property taxes and needed some help. And I asked Daniel for some help, but it was our residents as well as our business. So I guess you could say like it was helping our business, but it wasn't a direct business loan.
Okay, and what business do you conduct at the property?
We're a farm.
Okay. And had you received some indication, was there a foreclosure notice? Was there
Yes,
some, okay, from the bank?
from the state.
Okay,
Or
they're
the
going to
county.
foreclose on the property because of your tax arrearage?
Yes.
And so in response to the foreclosure notice, you reached out to just Mr. Walker, Mr. Callahan and Ms. Walker, or to a whole series of friends? Tell me how did they know that you needed help?
How did who know?
How did
Other friends?
Mr. Callahan and Ms. Walker know?
I called Daniel personally when I needed a little extra help. We got a few years behind. That's why we went into the foreclosure notice. And I relied on Daniel and my employer as well. I worked out a deal with my employer to have him pay up front, and then I'd work off that loan.
Okay.
We asked,
Meaning you worked it off without them having to pay you for the time you were putting in, and that was your return. Is that how you did it?
Work trade, yeah.
Work trade, basically.
Okay. And how much money did you receive from your employer?
Oh, I would say around 4,000.
Okay. And so the 4,000 you got from the employer and the 5,000 you got from Mr. Callahan, did that
Mhm.
close out the tax arrearage? And
Mhm.
is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm assuming, based on what you told me, Mr. Kalen, that your employer is satisfied based on however many hours you put in to work off the $4,000.
Yes.
Okay. And then when did the next 5,000 come in?
Sometime in 2014.
And tell me the circumstance around that.
Leah and Daniel both were visiting in town in Olympia and stopped by our house. We had a nice chat. Daniel and Rhea actually went outside to look at the farm, and Leah and I stayed in, had a conversation. Leah basically asked me how I was doing, told her that things were kind of rough, and she literally wanted to help and gave me $5,000.
Okay. Was there a need for $5,000? Was there a specific purchase that had to be made, a piece of equipment or inventory, or how did she I'll ask her, but what's your understanding of how she arrived at $5,000?
I don't quite remember exactly how we came up with $5,000, and it went to various causes. On the farm, there's always equipment issues, and things randomly happen. I think some of it did go to the property tax that year as well.
Okay.
But mostly to just, we have 2 kids. We've raised our kids on the farm. This is our personal property as well. So it goes to all kinds of different things. I can't say for sure exactly where the 5,000 went to.
To the well-being.
And Ms. Walker, now you're the one who wrote that check, the second check, is that correct?
That is correct. I had understood that there was another lien foreclosure thing from the property taxes, and I also had met their two children, and I certainly did not want them to be out on the street and to lose their house and farm. And so it did, play a little bit on my heartstrings to make sure that they were taken care of enough, because I certainly don't want two young children to be homeless, much less adult friends. That just sounds terrible. So I did go ahead and give them the money, with it being a loan in the sense that it would be paid back when they could afford to pay me back. This all kind of came up because I did, as Christian said, stop by their farm in August of 2022, and I was shocked at how much more developed, to the tune of at least $500,000 that they had come. And I don't know where they got that money from, and that's not my problem or my issue, but that they hadn't been interested in addressing a small payment plan or anything with me did make me sad. And I hate to be emotional about it, because I do understand that this is just a legal proceeding. But it made it so that I felt that that it was okay for me to ask for them to start repaying me on whatever small payment plan they could afford, which I thought was a very respectful way of asking to have them start to repay me, because I was so incredibly desperate. And I'm shocked that this is where we landed, instead of it just being like, oh my God, yeah, we have an extra $50 a month or $100 a month or whatever to just start that.
Okay. All right. So you were down visiting just for social purposes, or did you come down because they had asked you to, because they were having financial issues? Tell me about what brought you to visit them.
Well, we were on our way from where we live in Canada at the moment, although we're moving back to California, but we had been here for work. And we were down, it was Daniel's birthday, and we were going to be going to visit some other friends in Washington for, this little outdoor festival that they do every year. And it was going to have a lot of people that we're very close with that we hadn't seen in a long time. And so we pit stopped on the way there, hoping to see them. And we wanted them to come with us to that same gathering, but they were at a different, much more expensive gathering that we could not afford to go to. And so we just pit stopped, and we saw these like piles of tents and, coolers and whatnot. And it would save us time and money that we didn't have if we could borrow some. So we had a text exchange about asking, or maybe it was a phone call about asking if we could borrow a tent, because it had already been such a long drive. Driving from Calgary to Washington is long. And we were both broke. So they were more than happy to loan us a tent. And so we thought that was gonna be great.
Okay. So you stopped by, you saw tents, you were going to a festival, they loaned you a tent so that you would have shelter at the festival. And then how did the check come out?
The check was from 2014. So that was 8 years earlier.
That's what I'm asking. What brought you to their property in 2014? Not in 2014.
Oh, they were getting married, and Daniel was officiating our wedding. And that's when I met them. And I was just there being, his wife, I guess, and trying to be their friend. And so I was there, and we just got to talking because I was getting to know them. And, any friend of my husband's is a friend of mine. And I was just being friendly, and I happened to be in a space where I could afford things at the time. And so then when Christian said that he was at the risk of losing the farm and the house and being homeless with his wife and two kids, I, was like, well, I actually have enough right now. But in the event that I ever need it back, I need you to be able to pay me back. And he said, absolutely. Are you kidding me? And so I had confidence in that.
Okay. So you had never met them prior to this arriving at their property, is that correct?
That is correct. But again, any friend of my husband's is a friend of mine. I am learning otherwise the very hard way.
And how did you arrive at the figure of $5,000?
That's what Christian asked for because he said that's what he needed to pay the property tax.
And did Mr. Callahan tell you that a couple years earlier, he had given them $5,000 to pay property tax?
Yes.
Gift.
But he
Not
had
a
loaned
gift.
he had loaned them $5,000. They made him business cards and everything. And so it was a business loan. But yes, I was
Yes.
aware of the $5,000. I basically matched his $5,000, thinking that if he trusted them to pay him back, that I should also trust them to pay me back.
Okay, so you were aware of that prior to you writing the check, before, after you wrote the check? When did you find out from Mr. Callahan?
I knew before we even arrived about the situation between Christian and Daniel. And that doesn't necessarily make it a bad thing in my book. I like to help friends when I can. I have loaned friends money in the past. I've had some unfortunateness happen, but I've also had some really great things happen. I should have been more prudent and required them to enter into a written contract. I should have known better. I've been burned before, but it was their wedding. And so it seemed like a lot to have, stress them out that I needed something in writing. I was just like, oh, mazel tov,
Okay, all right. Did you, one of the things not in here is a copy of the check that you wrote. Did you write on the purpose line loan? Did you put that on there?
I did not.
Okay. All right. And you wrote the check to Mr. Kalin or to Ms. Kalin?
Neither, actually. I gave them cash. I went and took out cash and gave it to them.
Okay. Okay, so there wasn't a check to write the loan on.
That is correct, because they wanted cash, I think, for their tax purposes.
Okay. And who did you give it to? Do you remember?
I absolutely remember. I gave it to Christian. And apparently he did not inform his wife about it because he was embarrassed to have to ask.
Okay. All right. And you know that how?
Because she informed me that she had no idea prior to confirming with him this amount. So I am, trying to come up with a reason that she would not have known, because it's my understanding that generally married couples try to share things. So I was as shocked as anyone to learn that she was previously uninformed. But
Okay.
I like to keep people's marriages happy. So if it means that he needs to look like a man to her to make their marriage go, then so be it. Like, who am I? That doesn't matter. He asked me for a loan. I gave him the loan, and that's fine.
Okay,
But I
so-
would like to be paid back when I need it.
All right. So what you're telling me is that Ms. Kalin became aware of it when you made the request to get repaid. And your belief is until that point, she was not aware that you had given the additional 5,000?
Which I found absolutely shocking. But yes,
Okay, right. Yeah, you don't need to tell me your reaction to that, but timing wise, that's your understanding as to when she found out about it.
that is correct. Yes.
Okay, all right. So let me go back to the Kalins. You tell me what happened in 2014. Mr. Kalin, Ms. Walker said she gave you the money. You tell me what happened that day.
Yeah, 2014 was not our wedding year, actually. It was a 10-year wedding anniversary of ours that we were celebrating because we didn't originally have our wedding the way we liked it. So Daniel was preceding the wedding for us, and it was great to have them. But that wasn't the actual time that Leah gave me the money. We were celebrating our wedding, and there was no money at all being put back and forth in that during that time.
So, all right. So tell me, in your understanding or memory, when did Ms. Walker provide you the additional $5,000?
2014. The wedding was 2013. So it was a couple years after Daniel had given us the 5,000. And
Right.
they were here visiting Olympia randomly. I don't remember the reason. They were both here. They stopped by. We were chatting. I wasn't even thinking about asking for money. She just brought it up, like they had extra money and was willing to help us out. I didn't have any kind of masculine issues around asking for money or anything. And Rhea did know immediately. It was the fact of the stipulations that Leah was now expounding later on, just recently, that was the difference that Rhea didn't understand. That there were any stipulations organized at the time of Leah giving me the money.
Okay.
It was a cash. There was no check or anything. It was just get $5,000 wrapped up in her purse and gave me 5,000 cash in hundreds wrapped up in a rubber band.
I'll get back to you, Ms. Walker. I have some questions about that. Hold on. Okay, and this happened upon their arrival. It happened prior to their departure. When in that visit did it happen?
I would say a few hours into maybe a 5 to 6 hour visit.
Okay, and were you having tax issues at that time?
Yes, I would say
We're coming up.
yeah, we had tax issues for a little while there, back and forth. We weren't in necessarily close to having the property taken away, but we were wanting to get ahead basically and get back on top of things.
And the 5,000, you did what? You put it in your bank, you sent it to Department of Revenue. What did you do?
Department of no, I would say it went to paying property taxes, probably.
That's Department of Revenue.
At least yeah, okay.
And then
And then farm, or yes, I can't say for sure where the other half went.
And so you did that right away, or over time you did it?
No, it basically over the last 15 years of farming, it's been paycheck to paycheck.
Okay. But when you got the 5,000 from Ms. Walker, and my question is, what did you do with it upon receiving the 5,000?
Dispersed it to bills and other things. Might have deposited a little bit of it into the bank account.
Okay, all right. And Ms. Walker, first of all, what's your memory as to when in that visit you paid the $5,000?
It was my understanding. So we went up for their wedding celebration that they were actually, it's my understanding they were actually doing a wedding because they had been previously married or handfasted while Rhea was still married to her previous husband. And so they had a wedding celebration renewal, whatever, that Daniel actually performed the rites to. I helped him practice. I had not met them previously, but then we ended up staying because Washington is far from California. And we actually had an extra couple of days. And so, then we just kind of hung out and shot the breeze. And I was very happy that they were happy. And as I said, any friend of my husband's is a friend of mine. And so, yeah, so I heard desperation. I thought they were going to be losing their house and farm, and that made me want to help because that's sort of my nature. If Rhea knew all along that I had given them that money, then all of those text exchanges were like, don't make any sense to me at all. And so I really have nothing to say to that beyond the fact that I feel more manipulated than I did before.
Okay, well, you're right. And remember, we're going to leave the feelings out of it because that's not for me. Okay, so I'm just trying to get some factual context here. Okay, so I can't quite understand what you're telling me as far as when in the visit did you hand Mr. Kalin $5,000?
It was after the wedding ceremony. It was probably the next evening or late afternoon. So we got there and then I helped him practice. We had the ceremony that he officiated. And then there was, food and wine and dancing and hanging out and all that good stuff. And then then we slept there in their daughter's room that night because it was cheaper than finding a hotel room. And then we had this conversation about the fact that Mr. Kalin was afraid that he was going to lose the property because he had back taxes owed. And then I felt that since I was in a reasonably good position financially, that I certainly did not want him and his wife and his kids to be homeless, and that I would like to help them until whatever point I needed help.
Okay, so did you just have $5,000 in your purse, or did you have to go out to a cash machine? I mean, what happened?
I had some money in my purse, but I also did go to a bank and make a withdrawal. Yes.
Okay, so you left the property, went to a bank, came back with money.
That is correct. Because
Okay.
I knew where it was going. Daniel had already alluded to it based on his prior experience.
Okay, all right. And Mr. Kalin says, well, there was a visit in 2013 when the wedding renewal occurred, and the money came in 2014, and your memory is different.
I think that it was during the same visit. I honestly, I'll be honest, I don't know exactly when they got married. I thought it was after Daniel and I were already married, which we didn't get married until February of 2014. So if their wedding ceremony was prior to that, then I apologize for my lack of timely judgment or whatever. But I know that I met them at their wedding ceremony, and I thought that was all in the same visit, but it's been such a long time that I might be slightly confused on the timing of the things. I just know that I met them during that wedding ceremony. So I guess it's really up to them to decide when their new wedding after Ria's divorce went through actually occurred. I don't know.
Okay, so it's possible then that in fact you were there for a wedding renewal ceremony in 2013, and the money money exchange didn't transpire until a year later. Is that possible?
I guess it's possible. I don't know what that has to do with the case, but yes, sure. I mean, maybe there is the possibility.
Okay, yeah, I'm just trying to understand how this all happens here. Okay. Kalin, have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I find that you want to.
I want to say
Okay, go
something.
ahead.
I would love to say something. So mainly to clear up the confusion on my surprise on why I felt that if Leah's understanding is I didn't know about the monies, I did know about the monies. My understanding was that after all the services that we provided to Daniel, after the money exchange of this full amount of the 10,000 in 2015, I unfortunately had a circumstance with Daniel that forced me to commit Daniel to the state psychiatric ward hospital, and then continued to care for Daniel's dog, his family. He was in our self-care for quite some time because he couldn't find a place to go. He was committed. He served his time. He did his rehab, and he eventually moved back to the state of California with his mother. In 2019 of October, we had a mutual friend die, and Daniel came to visit us. Daniel stayed with us for the funeral, and we had lots of discussions about a very trying time Daniel went through, on top of talking about the monies, because we are friends and we care. We've all cared about each other. Obviously, Leah's cared about us and we've cared about them. That is undeniable. So our conversation that continued in 2019 of October with Daniel and Christian and I was recounting the issues that happened. And we came to an agreement between the three of us, and Leah was not present, that all monies that were divided amongst us and services rendered were water under the bridge, because life's too short to just continue thinking that there's debts and past circumstances that would hinder us from continuing on and going forward, healing, recovering, having great life experiences together. So that's why when Leah contacted me this past October, I was slightly like, was there something new I missed? And was very
Michael, let me ask you about that, Ms. Kalin.
Mhm.
when you, your husband, and Mr. Callahan had this discussion you said occurred, where you basically forgave each other's obligations based on mutual help that had been rendered. Was that reduced to writing? Did anybody?
No, we did not reduce that to writing.
Okay. All right. Yeah, obviously it's pretty obvious for both parties that lack of writing here leaves us in a position of trying to reconstruct things that people have some different memories about. And it's a little bit difficult because, clearly people see things differently as they are occurring, and their memory is different as well. So that's a problem in this situation. Mr. Kalen?
Your Honor, I'd like to just correct a little bit to what Leah was saying. As far as the wedding and everything, it's very, my wife and I were married in a civil court in 2004.
Okay, yeah, for me,
Great.
that's not really the issue.
Great.
And
That's harassment.
yeah, I just feel like I want to get past the semantics here and look at the RCW as far as how this is handled in an oral or an open-ended agreement, if possible.
Okay, well, that's what we're doing right now. That's going to be up to me to figure that out.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. So I gave the Kalens a last shot, and Ms. Walker, you're going to get the last word. Go ahead.
Yeah, I apologize if what I said was misunderstood. I was just trying to reconstruct a timeline from my understanding. But furthermore, I'm really just going by what was communicated in writing between Maria and myself. I really did try to engage Christian, and I didn't get any response, and I tried to go to arbitration a long time ago, and I'm just very confused by the whole thing, but I can only really go on what is in written form. And if there's a misunderstanding, then I'm okay with listening to clarity around that thing or those things, but I don't have a crystal ball, and I can't just like read your thoughts or anything. So I really need to go based on what is communicated via writing or via phone or whatever. But without any communication, there's nothing for me to even understand.
All right. And Ms. Walker, it looks like somebody by the name of Cameron Stewart served the claim on the Kalens. Did you hire Mr. Stewart? Was he a friend of yours?
Yeah, we hired one of those services. What do they call those?
Process servers.
Process servers. Yeah, because we didn't want to. We
Okay,
decided to spend
so-
the money rather than engaging.
All right. So how much did you pay for your process server?
$85 plus
thank you.
an extra filing fee, so I guess $95.
Well, okay, the filing fee is $50 at the court. So how much did you pay the process server?
I paid $50 to file with the court, and then I paid $85 to file to have the process server serve the thing, and then they charged us an additional $25, I guess, to file the fact that they had filed it on their end. I can give you I can submit all of that, but it was my understanding that once the process had been served, then that needed to go back to the court, and the process server was required to submit that evidence, and I was charged for that an extra $25.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm sorry, this is my first time in small claims court, so I am a novice, and I apologize for my lack of understanding.
That's fine. Most people, it's their first time, as I said, and they hope their only time.
I would like this to be my only time. I have learned my lesson. Everything in writing. No ambiguity.
Yeah, that's right. I add that to my talk at the beginning because that is such a frequent occurrence among folks who aren't in the business of doing whatever it is that brings them into small claims courts. So it's a mistake a lot of us make. And so it just, even though it's somewhat formal and you think it's not good for a friendship, it just keeps things clear and defined if there ever are any issues. And so it's usually a much better approach to take. Okay, but it's become apparent to both parties. I've heard both of you say you recognize that it would have been nice to have things in writing. Okay, but that's not the situation today. So as I said, I've had to, I've considered the documents that were filed, and I've listened to the testimony of all the parties and apply the law here, and not, as I said, try to decide who's morally right and who's morally less right. So here's the ruling. The ruling is that on the money initially provided to Mr. Kalin, in my mind, the evidence points to that being a loan. Mr. Kalin indicates that he also received money from his employer. He worked that off. He, at the same time, received money from Mr. Walker, or from Mr. Callahan, I'm sorry. To me, it's reasonable that all of that money, which then went to pay off the tax arrearage, was a loan. Conversation about it subsequently being forgiven, I'm not convinced that the evidence supports that. So I'll find that in fact was a loan that has not been repaid. The money that Ms. Walker provided to the Kalins, I'm going to find doesn't satisfy the requirements for a loan. And I'm going to make a determination two ways. One, as the plaintiff, it is Ms. Walker's burden of proof to convince me that it was a loan. So, going half-half isn't enough. I have to be more convinced that it was a loan than not. And the thing that doesn't allow me to get there is the text that Ms. Walker sent saying she recognizes it wasn't a loan, but she needs the money and she's just hopeful that it would be paid back to her. So that's pushes me in the direction of gift as opposed to loan. So I will find judgment for Ms. Walker, Mr. Callahan in the amount of $5,000 plus $85 service fee and $50 filing fee. Total judgment $5,135. All right, and the judgment I've signed will be available to all the parties in your district court file. You can get a copy of it there.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I hope you can find a way somehow to go back to being friends, because you were apparently very supportive of each other. I've heard things both ways. All right, thank you.
Okay, I didn't clock out.